Hi everybody, this is a video to explain the main different factors which are going to increase an economy's productive potential, how much they're capable of producing. And in theme 2, we'd explain this using an aggregate demand, aggregate supply diagram. Your aggregate supply curve, long run aggregate supply curve, will shift to the right when you have an increase in your productive potential. This shows that you're capable of producing more. It goes from LRAS to LRAS 1 like this. Remember, for theme 2, we've got two labels on each axis: price level, 2 words, and real output. And you might want to liken this to something in theme 1. It's really the same thing as looking at a PPF curve. If you have an increase in your productive potential on a PPF curve, that would be shifting your PPF curve outwards like this. And really, you're doing the same thing here because your long run aggregate supply curve illustrates your productive potential. It's another way of showing it. This type of long run aggregate supply curve I've drawn here is a Keynesian one. Remember, there's another type as well that you could use. So this is the way to remember: crept, a bit like a crepe, a very thin pancake. And the first one is competition policy. Competition policy is what a government can do in a country to encourage competition between businesses. If firms are forced to be more competitive, so for example, if very large companies, monopolies, are prohibited or limited, this would increase competition. You'll have more firms, and if you have more firms, they'll be competing on price and quality and everything else. If you have more competition policy, this will increase efficiency of each firm. If each firm is being more efficient, each firm is going to be capable of producing more. So if lots of firms are being more efficient because they're competing with each other, trying to keep their costs down, for example, this will mean as an economy you'll be capable of producing more because there's less waste, essentially. So this would increase your long run aggregate supply curve to the right. The second one is regulations. If businesses have to comply with lots of regulations, rules and red tape and lots of administration that they have to do, so if there are more regulations, this hinders productive potential. There may, of course, be other benefits of having the regulations, but there's an argument that businesses spend time and money complying with these regulations, and therefore they can't produce as much as they'd be able to otherwise. So if you removed some of the regulations, then theoretically your productive potential increases, and you shift from LRAS to LRAS 1. The third one, quite straightforward, this is education and training. If you educate more people in your country and you train people who are in work, then you're going to be capable of producing more, so your productive potential will increase. The next one is productivity changes. And if you increase productivity, remember productivity is output per factor input per time period. For example, labour productivity is output per worker per time period. If you increase your productivity, that would increase your productive potential. Because if every firm's output per factor input per time period goes up, altogether, all the firms together in the economy are going to be capable of producing more. The final one is technological advance. And technological advance will mean that businesses are using more technology, perhaps IT or artificial intelligence, those things, and that will enable them to be able to produce more with the factors of production that they have. And this will increase the productive potential from LRAS to LRAS 1. The last one, which I've missed off, but there's space at the bottom, is D. And D is for demographic change. The demographics of a country, that's looking at the people within the country. So for example, if you have immigration of people of working age, then you'll have more people in the labour force and your productive potential will increase. If the structure of your society is you have a lot of people who are turning 18 for the next few years because there's been a high birth rate over the last 18 years, then that will mean that you're suddenly going to have an influx of workers into your labour force, and this again would increase your productive potential. The last point to make is that this point at the beginning about increasing efficiency, there's also the argument that if you privatise firms, then by privatising them, they are no longer owned by the state and they're now owned by private companies who will have the profit motive. They will be more efficient and this will theoretically increase your productive potential to here.